Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, it's going to take us in towards the middle part of July. So have very warm weather and dry weather over the past few weeks. Looks like this weather will be continuing over the next few days, next week 10 days. And in fact, next week we may well see the heat rebuilding. So I think there could be some very hot weather indeed for a time through the course of next week. I'll talk you through all of the latest details in a moment. Just say, but today's first video had a look at the E70F ensemble model for the next 30 days, so it extends pretty much through the whole of July. It looks like we're going to keep a lot of anticyclonic influences going through much of the month, so I suspect this will be a very warm and a very dry July, to say the least. So have a look at that and see what you think. So I'll get on with your video for you in a second, but before I go on with that, I've just got to say a big thank you to our latest donors for Gasworthy. So I'm going to say a big thank you to James Webber. James has become a donor for Gasworthy, so a big thank you to James Webber for your donation. And also I'm going to say a big thank you to Liam O'Sullivan. Liam has become Gasworthy's latest donor as well. And Liam asked that I also give a shout out to all of the carers across Ireland and the UK who are currently looking after sick or poorly family members. So big thank you to all of those carers across Ireland and the UK who are doing such an important job at the moment, looking after all of those family members who are in need. It's a sort of situation I've been in myself over the past few weeks with a close family member, so it's something I'm very happy to do. A big thank you to all of the carers who are looking after all of our relatives over Ireland and the UK at the moment. So big thank you to Liam, big thank you to James, big thank you to those carers. If you would like to become a donor for Gasworthy's, then there are two ways of doing it. You can either give a donation through our Gasworthy's PayPal.me page, and I'm on the Gasworthy's PayPal.me page right now, so you can just come here and I'll drop in the link to this page in the description box, YouTube, and link to it at all pages at Gasworthy's. So you just come to this page, you can donate whatever amount you would like to help fund the website. The other way you can do it is to become a patron for Gasworthy's. So this is Gasworthy's Patreon page, and again, all you have to do is just come to this page and you can sign up to become a patron, and then that will be an ongoing monthly donation, anything as little as $1 a month. Of course, you can cancel that at any time, so you're not committed for any particular period. So that's like an ongoing payment, or there's the one-off payment you can do through PayPal.me. It's all helping to pay for the website, so a big thank you, big thumbs up to all of our donors and patrons for Gasworthy. So thanks so much for doing that and helping us to keep all of our content completely free of charge. So we're going to start off by having a look at the climate averages from the UK Met Office. So this is the latest, just updated in the past few hours. This is the June 2018 mean temperature anomaly set against 61 to 1990. You see it was a very, very warm June across the whole of the country. The warmest areas, quite interestingly, in the west. So parts of southwest of Scotland, Northern Ireland, down through Wales into towards the northwest Midlands and down to southwestern England. There we have an anomaly of between 2.5 and 3.5 degrees above average. Elsewhere, we see a very warm anomaly too, so most other parts of the country coming out between sort of 1.5 and 2.5 degrees above average, set against 61 to 1990. You will see that these eastern coastal areas were a little bit cooler. Even there, still above average, but only around 0.5 degree to 1.5 degrees above average. So the coolest temperatures have been on the east coast, as we know, with persistent easterly winds bringing quite a bit of low cloud, and also cooler temperatures from off the North Sea. That's set against the old and cold temperature average. This is the more modern, warmer temperature average, 18.1 to 2010. It's a very similar story, though. Most parts of the country, again, having a significantly warmer than average month. Temperature anomalies, again, coming out through most parts of the country between 1.5 to 2.5 degrees above average. Some specific areas like western Scotland, parts of southwest England, still up between 2.5 and 3.5 degrees above average, with coolest temperatures to average, but still warmer than normal on the eastern coastal areas. And then we've got rainfall, and just look at this. This is the rainfall anomaly set against 61 to 1990, and what a dry month it's been for England and Wales. Incredibly dry month through much of central southern England, South Wales, southwest England, through the Midlands, in towards the southeast. In those areas we have had less than 20% of our average rainfall. In fact, some of those areas, I suspect, haven't recorded any measurable rain whatsoever from beginning to end through the month. We go further north and the anomaly comes up, so we go towards southwestern parts of Scotland. Actually, we go a little bit above average, would you believe, across the southwest of Scotland, 125% of average, probably from some sort of heavy thunderstorm that occurred at some point through the month in this very specific area. But generally the north has been a little bit less dry than the south, but really dry, almost you would say drought-like conditions have been down across central southern parts of England and Wales. And it's the same story if we look at 81 to 2010 as well. You'll see exceptionally dry month across much of the south of the country, closer to average in the north. Northern Ireland's interesting because there we're sort of between like 33% and sort of 75% of average. So it has been quite a dry month across Northern Ireland, but not as dry, funnily enough, as down in the south, and yet it's in Northern Ireland that water restrictions have already been put in place. I'm not sure what accounts for that, whether it's just been very dry in Northern Ireland through the spring. Most parts of the country had quite a wettish spring, but maybe Northern Ireland was an area that didn't have all that much rain through the spring, and so the situation is a little bit more critical, because I know Northern Ireland is really the only place in the UK so far that has put in proper sort of restrictions on the amount of water that can be used. Anyway, very dry, very warm month in June. That really does confirm what we already knew, that June 2018 was a really hot month and a really dry month as well, and this weather is continuing into July. So these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. We're looking at Berwick upon Tweed in the north of England today, or the northeast of England today. So we're significantly warmer than average at Berwick upon Tweed at the moment. The temperatures will have a little bit of a drop down through the middle part of the week, but then over weekend into next week we see signs of those temperatures lifting up again. We've got quite an interesting period turning up now from around the 11th, which is just here, to let's say the 15th or 16th of July, which is just here. So this period around there, we've got a lot of scatter beginning to appear within the ensemble in that period. So some ensemble members, including the operational run of the GFS, which I'm going to show you in a moment, very hot conditions indeed through that second week of July. But we have got several ensemble members now that are going rather cooler. I'm not sure what accounts that, because I've not been through all of the ensemble members individually. I suspect what it could be is that we are seeing signs now of a Spanish Plume coming up through the second half of next week. It's a long way off. It's round day 10 or a little bit beyond, but we are seeing signs of a Spanish Plume coming up, which could really lift the temperatures up. Might be the peak of the heat wave, but as that gets pushed away, we may go into a rather cooler and more unsettled phase around the middle part of July. So it's possible in around 10 days time we will get some fierce heat and then violent thunderstorms and sweep it all away and introduce an Atlantic flow. And I suspect that's what's accounting for that quite high level of scatter that's beginning to appear within the ensemble there, because I suppose some ensemble members will be doing something rather like that and then like that, as we get the warm air coming up from Spain and then it gets pushed away by what could be quite an active cold front from the Atlantic. It's all a long way off, though. It's like sort of days 10. I'll talk you through it in a moment. It's sort of days 10 and beyond. So it's a long way off, but just a few hints beginning to turn up that that's where things may be progressing as we head up towards the middle part of month. In any case, it's going to be a significantly warmer than average week to come. So this is the temperature anomaly for the 3rd through to the 11th of July. Significantly warmer than average across most parts of the UK, Ireland, and in fact most parts of Europe are coming out warmer than average in the week ahead. This is a precipitation anomaly from the 3rd through to the 11th of July, and it looks very dry. You can see where the high pressure is continuing to sit, so the high pressure is continuing to sit almost over top of the UK, so much of sort of northwestern Europe coming out very, very dry indeed. Have got more precipitation through this sway just here, through this central sway of Europe, and that could well be down to thunderstorms, especially so for France. Right, so let's talk you through the latest runs of the models then. And this is for GFS, this is for Thursday. And we may get a few scattered thunderstorms around on Thursday. But on Friday into Saturday, we're getting a renewed build of high pressure moving up from the southwest. So expect any scattered thunderstorms that do occur from the middle part of the week to kind of just go away as we go through to the end of the week and weekend as high pressure re-establishes over the country. That will begin to lift the temperatures up. So by Saturday, I think we'll be back to around 30 degrees across the south of the country. That's 86 in Fahrenheit. That Sunday, high pressure remains almost over top of the country. So again, very warm, hot conditions, universally dry, bags of sunshine too. That's Monday and Tuesday. No particular change. The high pressure remains centred over top of the country. So I think we'll be around 30 degrees, maybe a little bit more, possibly not ruling out 32 at some point over the weekend or into the early part of next week. Somewhere like central London, 32 is 90 in Fahrenheit. So hot and dry conditions from the weekend and through into next week. And then the high pressure continues through the course of next week, but over time you'll notice this high is beginning to ridge more towards central parts of Europe. Keep an eye on this area of low pressure that's developing off the coast of Portugal and Biscay. Doesn't look like much at that stage on Thursday. We're still under hot, dry conditions, but by Friday next week, this is day 10, it's Friday the 13th, we find that the high pressure is just beginning to slip a little bit towards the east. Its centre is kind of like through Germany. This low pressure is developing down to southwest, and we're pulling up very, very hot air from a southerly to southeasterly direction at that point. If I show you the upper air temperatures, you'll see we're hot, and look how hot it is down across France. We're bringing the 20 Celsius isotherm up across France, down towards the Bay of Biscay. We've actually got the upper air temperature going above 20 degrees. That will be lifting temperatures in the south of France beyond 40 degrees Celsius. 40 degrees Celsius is around 105 Fahrenheit down across the south of France. The north of France will probably be going into upper 30s Celsius, so around 100 Fahrenheit. That area is not all that far away from southern England. So have to watch that quite closely. That could turn very, very hot at the end of next week. It's a really long way off, but just the potential there for some real heat to be pulled up from France. Now this is Saturday the 14th. That high pressure event is beginning to move into Central Europe more. This low pressure is developing not only around Biscay but also around the UK as well. Of course, very, very hot air is being pumped up from France at this point. There's our upper air temperatures. We're still just about keeping the 20 Celsius isotherm on the other side of the channel. 20 Celsius isotherm is important because that's the sort of temperature level where you can begin in some circumstances to think about getting the temperature up into the upper 30s Celsius. Upper 30 Celsius, around 100 Fahrenheit. The GFS is keeping that on the other side of the channel, but you'll see how hot it is across England and Wales anyway, although we don't get that 20 Celsius 20 Celsius isotherm coming into the UK. It is still very hot anyway, and certainly that's lifting temperatures to the mid 30 Celsius there on Saturday the 14th of July. But it's all wobbling within the atmosphere. It's all generating this area of low pressure. It's looking like a proper thundery situation. There's some sort of cold front that's coming through there. Maybe two fronts, actually. Maybe a front there and another front there. So that's introducing much cooler air from off the Atlantic. This one has all the heat ahead of it, of course. That looks rather explosive, I have to say. That could be a really widespread thundery breakdown. There's the upper air temperatures by the end of Saturday, 14th of July. Real intense heat across France. Dangerous heat. Gradually being pushed away, though, by the cooler, fresher air coming in from the Atlantic. High levels of Cape are lifted, so there will be intense and violent thunderstorms. And then beyond that, the heat gets pushed away. So this is to Sunday the 15th of July. This is all in the extended and unreliable time frame of the GFS. So do bear that in mind. Big health warning. But by Sunday the 15th of July, we're pushing away that heat and we're returning to a more Atlantic flow. Still warm with the upper air temperature. It's going to take a long while to drain this warmth out of the atmosphere, of course. But slowly turning cooler and fresher. And then something that we've not seen for a very long time as we go into the second half of July. This is Tuesday the 17th and on to Thursday the 19th of July. The very end of the GFS run does turn things genuinely unsettled with low pressure centred right over top of the country. So after that heat gets pushed out of the way, we go into a much cooler and a much more unsettled spell of weather in the second half of July. But it's all really speculative stuff, and we have got to keep an eye on it, but it does account for what we're seeing here with this scatter within the GFS ensembles. Right, let's try and make some progress. This is E7WF for Thursday and into Friday. We could have some showers left, but over the weekend we'll find this high pressure building across the country, so a strong build of high pressure takes us through the weekend. That's Sunday the 8th. Going to be dry, hot and sunny through most parts of the country. When we keep this high pressure going through the course of next week, after a hot start to next week, it may turn a little bit cooler around the middle part of the week before the heat starts to rebuild again towards the end of next week. That's how we look at day 10, Friday 13th of June. And similar to the GFS, there is a bit of a breakdown starting to take place here. This is a thundery low that is pushing up from France and Biscay. That will be bringing thunderstorms. We've also got low pressure and cooler air waiting out in the Atlantic, trying to bring much fresher conditions in from the northern part of the Atlantic. So that does look thundery, and it looks like it might be bringing in some sort of breakdown for the weekend of the 14th, 15th of July. There's the upper air temperatures. They are very hot, and again going for real heat down across France. Dangerous heat for France. We're almost bringing that up into the south and southeast of the country with that thundery low. But actually, with this solution, we would probably push that away quite quickly, so not bringing that dangerous level of heat towards the southern part of the UK. Nevertheless, it is close to it, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. And then finally the GEM, so this is how Friday's looking. Could be a little bit showery Thursday through to Friday through the weekend. Again, we get that renewed build of high pressure over the country, that lasts into the early part of next week as well. Dry, hot, sunny conditions, temperatures into the low 30 Celsius there, I think, by the early part of next week. Maybe a little bit cooler around the middle part of next week as we just begin to bring some slightly fresher air in from the northeast. But essentially, it would be similar to like today, which is very warm, but with a fresher sort of breeze and still mainly dry across most parts of the country. We go up to day 10. That's how we look. We get into day 10. And the air is increasingly pushing up from a southerly to southeasterly direction. Again, there's the thundery low out in the Atlantic off the coast of Portugal and Biscay. Also got some thundery lows beginning to move out of France. That's a heat low. That's sitting over France. That doesn't do anything. It's something that you see throughout the whole of the summer, the heat low across Spain. Just caused by the heat and the humidity of the atmosphere. But as the heat low disembarks from Spain and moves over France and the Bay of Biscay, it picks up moisture, it picks up more humidity, and then that's when the heat low begins to trigger thunderstorms. There's a bit of a low pressure there across France as well. All looking indicative, potentially, if we could roll on another 24 hours, which we can't, but if we could, all looks indicative that we might bring some real heat up from the south, some intense heat, which is already over France, and possibly some very intense and violent thunderstorms as well. So, could we be shaping up for a really hot spell of weather for a day or two towards the end of next week, followed by an intense, violent, thundery breakdown? And then maybe a cooler, fresher, more unsettled phase through the middle part of July. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye and see how this develops in a more immediate time frame, because that's all in the unreliable stuff. But in the more immediate time frame, which is going to be like the next week, there's still a lot of dry weather to come. Few showers through the last stages of this week, but by the weekend, high pressure will be rebuilding across the country, taking us dry, hot and sunny through the weekend. Those dry, hot conditions will last into the first half of next week as well. And then, I think the second half of next week, it could be all eyes on the Spanish Plume. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.